Welcome to MLB The Show, The Show, a triple play of baseball, video games, and entertainment. This is our season finale. We're going to leave it all out on the field. In just a moment, I'll bring you a recap of the Players League playoff tournament. We saw Blake Snell triumph in spectacular fashion. Warming up in the bullpen, we have MLB Network co-host Robert Flores returning to put a bow on the Players League and share his favorite moments as Master of Ceremonies. The closer is actor Hank Azaria, who recently wrapped up 4 seasons of the hilarious IFC baseball comedy, Brockmire.
Somebody better inject me with penicillin because that ball is gonorrhea.
This is our season finale episode, but stick with us till the very end. We have a surprise announcement. Call it an epilogue, if you will. And now, let's go to the highlights and revisit Blake Snell's championship run. "30 players entered the MLB The Show 20 Players League, but only 8 made the cutoff for the playoff tournament. In the first round, top seed Blake Snell narrowly escaped an upset bid by Gavin Lux.
No!
Colorado makes
I needed
the
it! No!
hit.
Why did I swing?
Wow.
Oh my God.
Celebration.
On the other side of the bracket, the Cubs' Ian Happ was on the brink of elimination when he shocked Joey Gallo with a walk-off homer. Happ went on to win the series in a decisive third game. In the opening round of the playoffs, Jeff McNeil knew exactly who to call on in the clutch. He walks it off with J.D. Davis in dramatic fashion. Cue the fight song.
When you're down a couple runs and you need runs now, call J.D. Davis. 877 runs now!
Win.
It was a tightly contested series, but Giolito survived a bases-loaded jam in the bottom of the third inning to seal a 5-3 victory in a decisive Game 3. After beating Dwight Smith Jr. in the opening round, Mets star Jeff McNeil beat Blake Snell in the semifinals Game 1. Snell recovered and dominated the final 2 games of the series to advance to the title round, outscoring McNeil 15-0. Giolito was an escape artist during his playoff run. Once again, Gio worked his way out of a bases-loaded jam. He forced a ground out in the final inning of the semifinals Game 3 to advance to the championship round.
Dribbler. Bummer. Throw to first. Got it.
Well played. Well played.
Very good series right there, man.
Oh my
Good
gosh.
games.
Oh,
Good
that was
games.
incredible.
In the championship round, Snell made it look easy. The Tampa Bay hurler made it a clean sweep over Giolito to take home the Players League crown. Along with winning lifetime bragging rights, Snell donated $30,000 to the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Sun Coast. Let's go to Chris Longo, who is standing by with MLB Network's Robert Flores.
Joining us now on MLB The Show, is Robert Flores, the co-host of MLB Central on MLB Network and the voice of the MLB Players League. How's it going, Robert?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. So I can't believe it's all over. Is it bittersweet for you, having gone through all of the Players League, now all the playoffs, and finally coming to an end?
Yeah, it is. I really enjoyed seeing the guys and their game skill level improve and how that evolved over the course of the season. I feel like I also got a chance to speak with them and know them on a different level, just under these different circumstances. It was definitely a rewarding experience and one I'll never forget.
Just some really fun banter back and forth. What was your favorite interaction you had?
I mean, for me, I think the favorite one was Lance McCullers telling basically in real time how, according to his observation, his delivery driver took a bite out of his burrito.
And I opened my Chipotle, and whoever delivered it, ate a bite of my Chipotle.
That was just one of the many examples of players showcasing different sides of their personality. I think what fans really enjoyed was the interaction between the players themselves. Many of them didn't know the other competitors. They only knew them obviously as fellow big leaguers.
Blake, look at me in my eyes right now through this webcam. There is no way that you hit that, bro. That was 102 above the zone.
So Blake Snell brought home the championship. I just want to get your reaction to how the playoffs unfolded, and what do you think it meant to Snell to win this whole thing?
He was my pick to win it all. I mean, he was a very experienced player before this league, so I think he had a leg up on the competition in a lot of respects.
I need it so bad. I need it so bad.
The big surprise was I thought he was going to be playing Joey Gallo in the finals, but that did not happen. Ian Happ upset Joey Gallo in the opening round. So it was cool to see, these kind of upsets happen and things like that. And Lucas Giolito, I think he's a perfect example of a player. MLB The Show wasn't really on his radar. Guys like Lucas and really all the other players in the league, these guys are competitors by heart. They are natural competitors. And Lucas, he didn't really know a whole lot about the game and wasn't experienced with it. But as the season wore on, he got more into it. He obviously got very good and got better. Playoffs.
Good
First
game. That was just terrible.
Good game, man.
Kevin Kiermaier makes the catch.
I was a little surprised about how subdued the celebrations were in the playoffs. A lot of respect there, I guess.
Yeah, I think that it's, it was. I think it's all new. I think it's still new for a lot of us and for the players, certainly. Like, how much do you celebrate? Because all of them said, yeah, I want to win, or I don't want to embarrass myself, or when you're in the playoffs, we're here, we might as well win. So I know that they're competitors at heart, as I said. I know they have a very big competitive streak. But again, it's like, how much do I celebrate?
Well played.
Very, very good series right there, man.
Oh my god.
Good games.
We had to convince our players. L2, that home run, man. Well, I don't want to show up my opponent having him forced to watch the replay of my homer. I mean, it's a virtual bat flip.
Something tells me that Snell popped a bottle of champagne after that broadcast went off.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's one of he was really even before this, he's just an enjoyable streamer. He's a prolific streamer. He's always on his Twitch page. And I really think like I said, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I think he's taken his streaming to a whole nother level. He was already doing it before, but I think he's taken his page and his channel and his streams to a whole new level.
What do you think's next for the Players League? Personally, I would love to see this have them run it back next year over the offseason, maybe as a gap between the hot stove and spring training.
I think the appetite is there for the players that competed. I mean, the ones that I talked with, and I would pose this question to nearly all of them was, if we could run it back, if we could do something like this in the future, would you be down for it? And to a man, they said, yeah, let's do it again. A couple of weeks after the World Series, maybe leading up to the winter meetings, maybe you could have the finals there wherever your winter meetings are held. The other thing I would like to see is an event where the non-major league players, I mean, the streamers and players that play this game, and there are many of them, I would love to see a competition or a league involving them as well.
Robert, thank you so much for jumping back on the show with us, and congrats on an amazing job with the Players League. We really enjoyed watching it this whole run.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I like I said, I love gaming. I love this game. And it was something that I've been thinking about and wanting to see happen, combining the two. It wasn't the conditions. Certainly, no one wants it under these conditions. But considering everything that's going on, hopefully it gave fans just a little bit of a taste of baseball, even if it was virtual.
We're joined now by Hank Azaria, the star and executive producer of Brockmire, the IFC baseball comedy. How you doing, Hank?
Doing all right. How are you?
Not too bad. So you and I are both Mets fans. What's it been like to not hear the angelic voice of Gary Cohen doing play-by-play for our beloved Mets this year?
Well, being a Mets fan, the nature of it is very bittersweet. And as it is right now, the downside is no baseball, no Gary Cohen, no Ron and Keith. But the upside is, no infuriating Met losses.
What are you? Are you a baseball that a child wished to become his only friend, and then you're the result?
If your glass is always half full or half empty as a Met fan, which it is, then now is no different, really.
So for the past 4 years, you've played Jim Brockmire, a broadcaster and baseball purist. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, you need to immediately go binge it on Hulu. What would Jim Brockmire think of all the simulated baseball we've been talking about on this show?
You know, I don't think it can ever replace baseball. Video games are designed to be fun, you see, and baseball is not fun. The sport is designed to be very, very frustrating. If a video game was actually as frustrating as baseball actually is, you'd play for maybe 15 minutes before hurling your PlayStation right out the window. So no worries there.
Baseball, there's so many crazy moments in this sport. Just thinking back to your fandom as a baseball fan, what do you think just kind of just in a nutshell shows how just wacky this sport is?
Well, you know when you realize how insane baseball is? My son's 10. He'll be 11 soon. As I tried innocently and happily to describe the game to him as he was growing up, you realize as you recount the rules that it is nuts. Nothing makes any sense. I mean, very simple Zen things like he would ask me, why is it called a walk if they run to first base? I'm like, good question. What's the difference between running home and a home run? If you think about it, if it's not second nature to you, those things sound insane. Another great question they asked me is, what does spitting have to do with anything? Which was a very good question. To me, the ultimate craziness of baseball is the ball is in the defense's hands. It's the only sport you can say that. And it makes the nature of the game really weird.
And what's with the drop third strike? I've been thinking about that. Like, that's just a wacky rule.
That is a really weird rule. And I'll tell you, talk about youth baseball, that comes into play very heavily in Little League. I mean, that's the whole game is that drop third strike, really.
From the first viral video that spurred Brockmire, see, this project's been supported by people in the sports world, and we even saw the clips recently of the sportscasters shooting a remote video to honor the show for its finale.
Jim Brockmire.
Jim Brockmire.
Jimmy Brockmire.
Jim Brockmire.
You're either the best thing or the worst thing to ever happen to baseball.
What's it meant to you to see broadcasters embrace the show like they have?
This show has been against the odds for a long time. It took us a very long time to make. It was a saga, a legal and a creative and a monetary saga. And then when we made it on a real shoestring budget, I mean, we shot 8 episodes of a TV show in 22 days. I can't tell you how insane that is. By the time we got in the editing room for season 1, I wasn't even expecting it to be any good. I was just happy if it cut together at all. And the fact that we finished it and it came out what I considered funny and good, I sent it out. I emailed it personally to Bob Costas and everyone I knew in the baseball world, Dan Patrick, Dan Lebitard, all the guys, Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon, everyone I admired in the sports talk world and sportscasting world, I sent it out to. And they all really watched it and loved it. And many of them asked to be on the show. And that was, I've made a lot of friends. I love those guys. And it really means the world to me. I think I might be a bigger fan of sports talk and broadcasting at this point than of the sport itself.
Does it make it a little bit easier to leave this character behind, knowing that you told a complete story here?
It does. I mean, that was what we set out to do. We want to do 4 seasons at 8 episodes each. Luckily, I speak much better as Jim Brockmire than I do as myself. We finished the narrative. You don't always get a chance to do that. And we told the story we wanted to tell.
I'm looking forward to retiring, quite frankly, okay? The narrative of my life is complete.
And actually, we exceeded our expectations. I mean, emotionally and psychologically, and even from a humor standpoint. So it's really been the joy of my life to do this show.
Inevitably, when Hollywood reboots Brockmire 5 years from now, who do you want to play Brockmire?
I think, somebody as handsome as I am, probably either George Clooney or Brad Pitt, I think.
Clooney, he's got some baseball skills too, so I think that's a good choice.
When people see me on the street and don't know who I am, they think they know me. Like, aren't you an actor? And I say, yes, I'm George Clooney. I look much worse in person. That's my stock.
When people come up to you on the street, what's the number one thing they're asking you about, or like remember you for?
Pretty much just that, like, I know you from where. Usually I get the Birdcage or Simpsons guy.
Okay, folks, show's over. Nothing to see here. Oh my God, a horrible plane crash.
After 32 years, I'm known as Simpsons guy.
How naked does it get in there? I mean, like, are some guys more naked than others?
Yeah, I would have to say there's guys that are more naked than others.
Will you name names?
They won't name names.
So you got to do some really cool stuff promoting Brockmire over the years. Has there been kind of a memorable interaction you've had with the baseball community in promoting this show?
I'd say it's this. I'd say right now, we're living it right now. This is the pinnacle. My life has led up to this moment. Doing the short, the very first thing we shot as Brockmire, I sat, where Vin Scully sits, or used to, and did it from there at Dodger Stadium. Having all those great announcements, working with Joe Buck has been a real, and how great he actually is and how much he commits. And then having Bob Costas do the show and, mediate one of our opening nights, opening premieres. And I just feel like I'm an honorary member of and being in the booth with the ESPN guys every year, and living and being able to broadcast as Brockmire, sitting there with Carl Ravitch and Eduardo Perez and Kim Kirkjian. At this point, I've given up the dream that I'm going to start at shortstop for the Mets, and now this is my sports dream. I can sit there in the booth with these guys.
I'm glad you brought up Joe Buck because we have a very special question from an 8-year-old little leaguer.
Hi, Hank. This is Dylan. Why does everybody hate Joe Buck?
Dylan, I hope you're asking that in the spirit of how I ask you, which I don't understand why. The guy is brilliant at what he does. He has an incredible sense of humor, incredible knowledge of so many sports. He makes it seamless. I think that we actually all love Joe Buck so much that we want him to be our home announcer. We want him to root for our team. And when he doesn't do that, people get frustrated and disappointed, and they think he's for the other team, but they're wrong. Joe Buck deserves much more love than he gets.
Smarter robots, and our dystopia is now complete. Thank you. All right.
You're doing a lot of interviews for kind of classic baseball movies in this interim where there's no baseball, and it's been really fun revisiting that with a lot of the actors. But what's kind of strung together in my mind is that a lot of baseball-based shows or movies kind of just get more beloved over time, and I hope that's something that happens with Brockmire here.
I hope so. I hope, one of the maybe small silver linings of this ridiculous time we're in is most folks are stuck inside. Please check out Brockmire. I know most of you haven't. Shame on you. Check it out. And I'd love it if more people discovered the show as a result of this. And, Brockmire was heavily influenced by a lot of the sports movies of the 70s, in particular Bad News Bears and Slapshot. My favorite baseball movie of all time is easily The Natural. And I think my favorite sports movie of all time is Hoosiers. But yeah, I love that 70s era gritty, sort of realistic sports movie that was really funny and really kind of dirty and really emotional at the same time. So we tried to do that with Brockmire.
Absolutely. Hank, thank you so much for joining us. And once again, congrats on the success of an amazing 4-year run on Brockmire.
Thank you very much.
The end of the Players League has brought us to the end of our run on MLB The Show, The Show. However, I'm happy to announce that our producers have given us an epilogue. Stay tuned in the coming weeks for the baseball movie Oscars on denofgeek.com, as voted by film critics, sports media, actors, directors, and pro ball players. We'll leave you with the words of historian John Thorne, who kicked off inning 1 of Ken Burns' baseball with this banger.
Baseball lies to us seductively, and we know we're being seduced, and we don't complain.
On behalf of myself, our co-host Chris Longo, and everyone who helped make MLB The Show possible, it's been an honor to play a small part in keeping the spirit of baseball alive during these trying times. But this isn't goodbye. It's see you next season.
Like the sound of this video? All of our music was licensed from Soundstripe, a subscription-based royalty-free music library for filmmakers, podcasters, YouTubers, and more. Soundstripe. Keep creating.